Now let's take a look at a brief history of the merchant cash advance. So why should you care about the history of merchant cash advances? Well, history is important. That goes without saying. 2, there's going to be situations when you are having a conversation with a merchant and this just might come up. So if you know the history of merchant cash advances, the merchant might think you've been doing this for a long time, and they're going to feel more comfortable doing business with you instead of your competition. The more knowledge you have on anything, the more confidence you will have, which in turn will make your merchant feel more comfortable with you and will be more likely to do business with you. Confidence sells, remember that. And then 3, there are some common misconceptions as to how long this type of financing has been around. Let's take a look. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a guy by the name of Tim Little with Little & Company, and he had his merchants pay out of their credit card receipts in order to pay him back. So this is the first known instance of a merchant cash advance, and actually at this time, it wasn't even known as a merchant cash advance. The name wasn't coined until much later. Then, in 1997, after filing a patent, Barbara S. Johnson was listed as the official inventor of split funding, aka automated loan repayment. Now, this flowchart filed with the U.S. Patent Office for the patent, which kind of looks like a big M, showed how this type of financing was structured. Now, don't worry, you don't have to memorize this. In the late 90s, pretty much there was only one player in town, and it was AdvanceMe, who is now known as Can Capital. And they were the industry. They funded $9 million in 1999, which at the time seemed like a lot of money, but by today's standards, not so much. Prior to 2003, the only source of publicly available merchant cash advance info was with the U.S. Patent Office. Then, in 2003, the Green Sheet publication was developed along with the online discussion forums. This is where folks in the industry could go to find info on a topic and discuss merchant cash advances. Sadly, the Green Sheets is no longer in publication today, but thankfully it has been replaced by Debanked, which is another monthly publication and website and great source for info. And there's also something called the Daily Funder, which is an online discussion forum open to the public. In 2004, the industry had somewhat of a setback. A California attorney named Anat Levy of Anat Levy & Associates filed a class action lawsuit against Rewards Network, a company who offered a type of cash advance, claiming they violated state usury laws. Usury is a term that dates back to biblical times and basically means to charge excessive interest rates. Anat Levy won the case. Rewards Network appealed and ended up settling for nearly $60 million. This case and a string of others, which successfully followed it, ended up making California, a huge state with a huge population, a very sticky and risky place to fund merchants who resided there. This resulted in either some funding companies not doing business with California merchants at all, or restructuring their MCA product as a loan product, which also required they go through the necessary hurdles to become a licensed California lender, which was no easy feat also. And this is much of the reason why we have the different terminology used when discussing a loan product versus a merchant cash advance product. It wasn't until May of 2005 when our product was actually first called a merchant cash advance. An article written in the Green Sheets is where the name was first coined. In August 2007, a Texas district court ruled against AdvanceMe in a patent infringement suit. Well, remember that 1997 patent that Barbara S. Johnson held on automated loan repayment? Well, she was with AdvanceMe, and they filed suit against 6 other MCA providers claiming infringement on their patent of a computerized method for securing debt using future credit card receivables. It was later found that the patent filed by Ms. Johnson was invalid for 2 reasons. 1, the patent is obvious and anticipated, meaning any party might have thought of the process because it was a natural extension of current business practices. 2, there is prior art, Well, remember our friend Tim Little? It was proven in court that he, as well as a few other organizations, were doing this prior to 1997 when Barbara filed that patent. So this enabled any current MCA providers to remain in business and also paved the way for new entrants to all compete for market share. In 2008, everyone remembers that this is when the financial crisis took hold. Many people believe that this is when the merchant cash advances were first introduced. Obviously, that is not the case, but the tightening of lending by traditional banks, as well as the patent infringement case from the previous year, certainly helped the industry gain traction. This was also the year the North American Merchant Advance Association, or NAMA, was created to, quote, represent merchant cash advance providers and to promote competition and efficiency throughout the merchant advance industry. Today, the not-for-profit trade association is known as the Small Business Finance Association, and they aim to provide guidance and help influence and shape the merchant cash advance industry through leadership, education, and the sharing of information. The 2011 settlement of Richard Clark versus AdvanceMe reshaped the way many MCA providers do business. In July 2005, Mr. Clark received an advance from AdvanceMe. When the restaurant closed, Clark still owed $46,000. And AdvanceMe sued, claiming that he had switched credit card processors to divert funds away from the credit card processor that was being used to remit the funds back. Clark maintains he did not. Clark attorneys argued that if a business goes out of business due to normal circumstances, there are no future receivables and thus cannot be held liable. AdvanceMe later dropped the suit when Levy, Clark's attorney, threatened to file a counterclaim and a class action. This case led to many MCA companies to improve their underwriting process, as well as having more MCA providers offer loan products that include a personal guarantee of paying it back. In December 2014, On Deck, who today is one of the biggest alternative lenders in this space, went public, helping cement the industry as something that is here to stay. However, it has not been all sunshine and rainbows for the industry. In late 2016, there was a shakeup in the industry with a few MCA/loan providers, most notably Can Capital, formerly AdvanceMe, who was still one of the biggest funding companies around, halted new originations. Can was forced to stop making new loans after it discovered, quote, some assets were not performing as expected, and there was a need for process improvements in collections. Can is still currently in business and will likely come back stronger than ever, but it just goes to show that giving out money is easy, getting it back is the hard part. Now, despite setbacks such as this, the industry continues to grow, along with the need for training for new ISOs and sales reps. LearnMCAs.com was developed and implemented to help those new to the space navigate the industry. Okay, so that is it. That is our brief history lesson on the merchant cash advance. Now, of course, there are many other notable events that could have been added to the timeline, but I wanted to keep this brief and relevant to any discussions you could possibly be having with your merchants. Oh, and here are my references, just so you know that I am not making this stuff up.